Okay, just to make sure we're on the same page metaphorically and literally, this is a mini lesson about how to use online databases here at NMJC. I'm going to start with vocabulary so that you can have a sense of the words I'm using when I'm talking about these things, because they all get related and we need to make sure that everything is clear before I talk to you about how to use the databases. So let's start with citing. Citing is identifying where a source came from. So basically you deal with two types of citing. In-text citation, otherwise known as parenthetical citation, because it is a citation in parentheses, right there. The name of the author is in parentheses. Don't forget that sentences end in periods. Please notice the period is not inside the quotes. It's at the end of the sentence because sentences end in periods. The second type of citation is end-text citation. In MLA format, it's called the works cited. So there's an example of a work cited right there. Okay, please notice it has its own page. And please notice that each citation ends in a period because sentences end in periods. You might notice a theme here. A database is a place to collect something, usually information. That's why we call them online databases, because that's telling you where the place is. It is an online place to collect information. In order to find the databases on our site, this is what you do. There are a whole lot of databases. There are general databases that are good for a whole lot of stuff. And for English classes, there are even literature databases that are specific to English classes. So those are databases. A couple of related terms, accession number. So an accession number, some databases have accession numbers. So when you go into the detailed record, when you go into the citation information, there might be an accession number in there which you will need for your end-text citation. DOI is similar to accession number because they both just mean place where I found things. So when you go into a different kind of database citation, when you go into the details, what it'll do is it will show you all of the information you need for your end-text citation. And there you go, there's a DOI. All right, now that we know what a database is, let's talk about the search box on the database. It's going to be the place that you type in your search information. So it also can be called a dialog box. So search box, dialog box, pretty much interchangeable. There are a couple of related terms that we need to deal with. Boolean operator. So Boolean operators are ways of narrowing down your results or broadening your results from the dialog box, from the search box, so you don't even have to refine your results later. Some of these will open up, will broaden your search. Some of them will close down, will narrow your search. They are either capital letter words, so and or not, or punctuation, quotation marks, parentheses, and asterisks. And's going to make your search a lot more narrow. Quotation marks will make it super narrow, or will make it bigger. Parentheses will make it narrow, not will make it narrow. Asterisk is going to make it really broad because it's a wild card, so it will mean that anything can go in that space, okay? So Boolean operators will help you broaden or narrow your search before you even have to refine your results. All right, now that you can use Boolean operators to narrow down or open up your search terms, we need to talk about search terms. Key terms, search terms, subject terms, these are all relatively interchangeable. Different databases will use different words to describe this thing. And then when you use your search terms, you get your search results. So if you go to the NMJC web library page and you put in little red cap, you're going to get a bunch of information, 147 journals. But if you put in the quotes for the Boolean operators, it's going to narrow it down to 64, and we didn't even need to do any refining. Okay, now that you have search results, you're going to have a lot to deal with, like 147 somethings to deal with. So you need to refine your results. Different websites, different databases will have different ways of refining it, but over to the right-hand side, it gives you a bunch of different ways that you can refine it. When it was published, what type of source it is, where it comes from in the world, what language it is. There's a lot of different ways you can refine your results. Okay, so let's look and see what this looks like in action. On the ProQuest, once you do your search and you've got your Boolean operators in there, you can start narrowing it down. You have 503 to start with, but please notice full text is checked, so that way you can access the whole document. Now we got to start narrowing it down. None of those seem useful, so let's go to the document type. Well, we need articles. Okay, so that'll give us 56 articles, which is way fewer than the 503 we started with. A source is a place from which you can take and or use information. Sources can be online databases, they can be books, they can be people. So the related terms, a primary source is information from as close to the source as possible, from the event or the person or whatever, so as close as possible, because primary means first. So magazines, news, trade publications, those can all be primary sources. Secondary source, which has second in it, so it's the number 2, information from a source removed from and or evaluating a primary source. So in other words, it's one step removed. So if somebody tells you about something, you are a secondary source. An abstract, academic journal, article, magazine, news, peer-reviewed journal, issue, and reviews, all of these can be secondary sources. You have to look at the individual pieces to figure out whether they're primary or secondary, but as a rule, those are going to be secondary sources. You're also going to run into the terms issue, volume, and number, because journals are broken up into issues, volumes, and numbers. So once you have your search results, if you go and look at a scholarly journal entry, and then you go over to the details, it will tell you what the volume and the issues are. It'll also have it up at the top sometimes. It depends on the publication site. It'll also tell you the type of source. It's a scholarly journal and it's an article. Okay, so the source in the citation information, it'll give you everything you need for your end-text citation. All right, now that we're all on the same page in terms of our vocabulary and our language use, we need to talk about how to actually use the online databases. I'm going to be talking about how to use the online databases here at the JC using our website. So, step 1, we have to go to the NMJC library page. Then, step 2, you have to choose a database. Step 3, you're going to enter your search terms so that you can actually be looking for something on the database you have chosen on the library page. And then finally, you're going to have to narrow down your results because you'll have bazillions of results because we just have a whole lot of databases to choose from. So let's practice going to the NMJC library page. I've put the links here, but if you don't know how to get to them, let me show you. If you start at our main page and then you scroll down to all those bubbly buttony things and you click on the thing that says library, that'll take you right there. So there are all of our sources. This is our library page. This is where we can start looking for online databases. Another way to get there is through Canvas. So once you're in Canvas, you're going to scroll down to Help. Then you're going to go to Student Resources. Then you're going to go over to where it says Library. Click on Library, and there you go. You're back to the library page again. Okay, now that we're at the library webpage, now we need to go to the database section of the library webpage so that we can choose our database. Okay, so if you go to the right of the search box, there will be a button that says Databases, and then it'll list all these databases. All of these are expandable files, so these are all general databases that will give you kind of broader results. And then there's a literature section that will give you more specific to literature results. But all of these are all databases, and all of these databases have hundreds and thousands of articles in them. So if you think about the fact that we have hundreds and hundreds of databases, and those databases have thousands and thousands and thousands of articles and resources in them, there is just no way you won't have enough information. The problem is you'll have too much. Okay, we've found the library page, we've found the databases, we've chosen a database. So now step 3, we're going to enter our search terms, our key terms, into the search box, into the dialog box, so that we can find the work we need, find the articles we need. Now, First Search is a good database to start with because First Search is actually a database of databases. So when you get your results from First Search, it will be a series of databases that you then search inside of. So we've got our First Search. We're going to put in our key terms. Please notice I'm putting quotation marks around the terms so that we narrow it down. I'm going to go with a general database to make it nice and broad search, and I come back with 6 different databases. WorldCat has the most, so we're going to search WorldCat, and we end up with a lot of different kinds of results. First Search is a good place to start. Now that we have 617 sources, we need to narrow it down. So let's talk about how to do that. So on First Search, it'll tell you what kind of sources they are. So they have books, these are all books, they have internet web pages, they have music, they have all kinds of things, but we want articles. But now we've gone too narrow and 2 of them are the same. So let's try the other link. Oh wait, now we've gone seriously narrow and it's the same article as in the other place. So what we do is we switch databases. So this is our ProQuest literature database. So in order to narrow it down, you want to go to the articles because 34 is a lot fewer than we started with by about half. Now, just because it says secondary sources doesn't mean it's going to be a useful source for you, but it at least narrows it down. So what happens is you can look through all of these sources and you can start to decide whether they're useful. If you still have too many, you can go for peer-reviewed, which is basically the people that know what they're talking about saying whether the article is any good or not. So hopefully if it's peer-reviewed, it is good. So that's how you use online databases in 4 easy steps. So today we covered a bunch of vocabulary. We talked about citing information from a source. You get sources from databases. Once you're in the database, you use the search box to type in key terms. You use Boolean operators to narrow down or broaden out the search so that once you get your search results, you don't have to refine them as much. The results you get are called sources, and we have 2 different kinds of sources. We have primary sources, which is as close to the thing as possible, And we have secondary sources, which is at one step removed from that thing. We also have issues, volumes, and numbers because those are how journals are broken up. Finally, our 4 easy steps were to go to the NMJC webpage, choose your database, enter your search terms, then narrow down your results. I hope this helped, and if you have any questions, as always, reach out. Be safe out there. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.